The stars died that day. Not literally, but for the people watching from Kepler Prime, the destruction meant the same thing. Commander Victoria Hayes stood in the communications center of the USS Valiant and watched the final transmission from the colony world. The image showed a massive fleet descending through the atmosphere. The message came through in broken pieces as the signal weakened. "This is Governor Marcus Chen. The Vorthan ships are landing. They are destroying everything. If anyone receives this message, tell the Galactic Council that we did not fight back. We followed the peace protocols. They attacked without warning." The transmission cut off. The screen went black. Victoria did not move. Her hands remained steady on the edge of the console. Around her, the crew of the Valiant watched in silence. Nobody wanted to speak first. Everyone understood what they had just seen. A world had fallen. Billions of lives ended in minutes. The Vorthan Empire had returned to war. Victoria was 42 years old and had served in the human fleet for 20 years. She was born on Earth in a small city called Portland before she joined the military academy at 16. She had always wanted to serve something bigger than herself. The universe, she thought, needed people willing to stand up when others fell down. That belief had carried her through every difficult decision of her career. But nothing had prepared her for this moment. "How long until we receive reports from the other worlds?" she asked. Lieutenant Grace Parker, the communications officer, kept her eyes on her instruments. "The Council is already sending out emergency broadcasts. Reports are coming in from multiple sources. It looks like Kepler Prime was not the only target." Victoria felt the weight of those words. Her jaw tightened, but her voice remained calm. "Show me everything." The main display screen shifted. New data appeared. The Vorthan Empire had struck at 3 worlds simultaneously. Kepler Prime was gone. The mining colony at Darius V had been destroyed during evacuation. The agricultural world of New Haven was burning. Estimates suggested billions dead. The numbers were too large to mean anything. Captain Owen Mitchell stood to Victoria's right. He was her tactical officer and had served with her for 5 years. Owen was steady, logical, and dangerous in a fight. He studied the attack patterns with a trained eye. "They did not use invasion forces," Owen said. "This was pure destruction. No occupation. No resource gathering. Just annihilation. Why?" asked Dr. Amelia Grant, the ship's chief science officer. She had joined the Valiant only 8 months before. She was young, brilliant, and had a habit of asking direct questions. "The Vorthan Empire trades with the Alliance. They have peace agreements. What changed?" Victoria did not have an answer. She moved toward the main viewport and looked out at the stars. Somewhere in that darkness, a massive fleet was moving toward the next target. The Vorthan Empire was ancient and powerful. They had not started a major war in over 800 years. Then something happened. Something made them return to conquest. The alert system sounded. Communication channels lit up with emergency signals from the Galactic Council. Victoria moved back to the console and accepted the transmission. The face of Ambassador Chun appeared on screen. He was old, calm, and represented Earth's interests in the galactic government. His expression showed the fear he felt. "Commander Hayes, the Council is convening emergency sessions. All military vessels are ordered to defensive positions around Council worlds. You will receive coordinates within the hour. With respect, Ambassador, we should pursue the Vorthan fleet. We need information about their movements," Victoria said. The ambassador shook his head. "No, the Council has spoken. You will hold position and await further orders. This is a direct command." The transmission ended. Victoria turned away from the screen. She looked at each member of her bridge crew. Owen watched her carefully. Grace waited. Dr. Grant bit her lip, thinking hard about the numbers she had just seen. Chief Engineer Marcus Webb is in the engine room, Owen said quietly. I can get him on the communication system. Victoria nodded. Do it. Seconds later, Marcus Webb's voice came through the speakers. He was a big man, 50 years old, with decades of experience keeping ships running in impossible conditions. He had been born on Luna and had never set foot on Earth. His voice was rough but steady. I heard about the attacks, Marcus said before Victoria could speak. What do you need? Full power to engines and shields. I want this ship ready for anything, Victoria ordered. Already on it, Marcus replied. The crew knows what happened. Victoria moved to her command chair and sat down. The weight of command felt heavier than usual. She had never lost a world before. She had faced dangerous situations, survived combat, and made hard decisions. But she had never seen this level of destruction. The entire Galactic Alliance was built on the belief that they were too strong to be attacked. That peace was permanent because everyone was balanced. Now that belief had broken apart. The bridge fell silent again. Victoria knew her orders. Hold position. Wait for council instructions. Follow the chain of command. Every military officer was trained to obey orders, especially from government officials. But Victoria had always believed that following orders was not the same as doing what was right. She turned to Owen. What is the Vorthan fleet's estimated speed and direction? Owen moved to the tactical console and checked the data. Based on their attack pattern and known technology, they are moving toward the inner rim. My projection shows 3 possible targets within the next 48 hours. Which one is closest? Victoria asked. Kepler Station. It is a mining colony. Population around 30,000. It has minimal defensive capacity. Victoria stood up and moved to the tactical display. The blue lines showing the Vorthan fleet direction pointed straight at Kepler Station. She could see it clearly. The next target was already chosen. The attack would come soon. We can reach Kepler Station in 22 hours, Owen said. We could evacuate the population before the Vorthan arrive. Grace and Dr. Grant both looked at Victoria. They understood what she was thinking. It was against orders. The council had explicitly told her to wait for instructions. But waiting meant allowing more people to die. Victoria made her decision. Chart a course for Kepler Station. Full speed, she said. Send emergency communication to the colony. Tell them we are coming to evacuate civilians. And signal Earth Command. Tell them the USS Valiant is moving to intercept the Vorthan advance. Owen smiled. He had known what Victoria would do. He had served with her long enough to understand that she would not watch people die if she could prevent it. The ship moved. Engines roared to life. The USS Valiant turned away from her assigned position and headed into danger. Behind her, worlds burned. Ahead of her, another world faced the same fate. Victoria Hayes had made her choice. She would stand in the way of the Vorthan advance, even if it meant breaking every order she had been given. The signal from Earth arrived 6 hours after the USS Valiant changed course. Victoria stood in her private office and listened to the message from Admiral Elena Rodriguez. The Admiral's face was serious, and her voice carried the weight of command. Victoria, I know you broke orders. I expected you to break orders. The Council is angry, but they are also afraid. Do what you can at Kepler Station, but after that, you need to have a plan for the larger problem. The Vorthan Empire is moving with purpose. This is not random destruction. We need to understand why they started attacking, and we need to understand how to stop them. Earth Command is supporting your mission. You have the authority to make independent decisions moving forward. Find me a way to turn this around. The message ended. Victoria sat back in her chair. Elena Rodriguez had been her commanding officer years ago. They had faced danger together and trusted each other completely. The Admiral understood that sometimes the best decisions required breaking bad orders. The Valiant was moving at top speed toward Kepler Station. The colony world was growing larger on the forward sensors. Marcus Webb was in the engine room, pushing the ship faster than normal operational speed. It was risky, but time was running out. Victoria called a meeting of her senior staff in the conference room. Owen Mitchell arrived first, along with Dr. Amelia Grant and Chief Engineer Marcus Webb. The walls of the conference room showed real-time tactical data from the advancing Vorthan fleet. We have 14 hours before the Vorthan arrive at Kepler Station, Victoria said. We need to evacuate all 30,000 civilians. We also need to gather intelligence about the Vorthan forces. Owen, what do we know about their command structure? Owen pulled up data on the screen. General Krell commands their military operations. He's old for a Vorthan, experienced, and has not lost a conflict in 400 years. The Vorthan are efficient warriors. Their ships are fast, heavily armed, and coordinated. They do not make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes, Victoria said. We just have not found theirs yet. Dr. Grant analyzed their attack patterns. What can you tell me about how they fight? Dr. Grant studied the data carefully. She had spent months studying alien military tactics before joining the Valiant. Her analysis was always thorough and accurate. The Vorthan use overwhelming force concentrated at a single point. They destroy the enemy's ability to resist through superior firepower. But they have a weakness. They are not flexible. Once they commit to a strategy, they follow it exactly. They do not adapt to unexpected variables. If something breaks their plan, they show hesitation. How long would hesitation last? Victoria asked. Maybe seconds. Maybe minutes. Not long, but possibly long enough. Dr. Grant said. Marcus Webb leaned forward. Commander, I have been listening to this, and I want to say something. The Valiant is a strong ship, but we cannot fight the entire Vorthan fleet. We would lose. I know, Victoria said. I am not planning to fight them directly. I am planning to delay them long enough to evacuate the colony. But after that, we need a larger strategy. We cannot save every world. We need to find a way to stop the Vorthan Empire completely. Owen smiled. You have an idea. Victoria nodded. Use their weakness. Adapt faster than they can. The Vorthan Empire has never fought humanity before. They do not know how we think or what we are capable of. We are young, flexible, and we come from a harsh world. Earth is dangerous. It created us to be survivors and fighters. The Galactic Alliance thinks we are unproven, but we have something they do not have. We are unpredictable. Marcus leaned back. You want to use us as bait. I want to use us as a weapon, Victoria corrected. But yes, that means putting this ship and this crew in danger. If anyone wants to request transfer before we engage the Vorthan, I will approve it. No judgment, no penalties. This is beyond normal military duty. The four officers looked at each other. None of them stood up to leave. Owen spoke first. I am staying. I want to see if your theory is correct. I want to study their systems close enough to understand how they work, Dr. Grant said. This is the most important scientific opportunity of my life. Marcus stood up. Someone needs to keep the engines running while you two are busy with theories. I am not letting a group of young officers break my ship. Victoria felt a wave of respect for her crew. These were good people, the kind of people worth fighting for. Then we move forward, Victoria said. Here is the plan. We reach Kepler Station and begin evacuation immediately. We move all civilians to transport ships. While we evacuate, we study the Vorthan fleet approaching. Owen, I want you to analyze their formation, their weapons capability, and any patterns in how they move. Dr. Grant, work with him. Find me their weakness, something we can exploit. Marcus, prepare the Valiant for combat. Not a defensive posture, an aggressive one. I want this ship ready to hit them hard and fast. Dr. Grant raised her hand. Commander, if they do not adapt well to unexpected situations, we could cause real confusion with unconventional tactics. Exactly, Victoria said. We fight dirty. We use the environment. We use deception. We use anything that works. The Vorthan expect a formal battle with clear lines and organized forces. We give them chaos. The officers left the conference room with their orders. Victoria remained, looking at the data on the walls. The Vorthan fleet was massive. The Valiant was one ship against impossible odds. But sometimes, one ship in the right place at the right time could change everything. The colony world appeared on the 4 viewport. Kepler Station was a small settlement built around mining operations. It did not have walls or defensive positions. It was built for peaceful work, not war. Victoria sent an emergency transmission to Governor Kevin Walsh. His face appeared on her screen moments later. He was younger than she expected, maybe 40, with the tired expression of someone who had worked hard his entire life. Governor Walsh, I am Commander Victoria Hayes of the USS Valiant. We are here to evacuate your population. You need to move everyone to the evacuation points immediately. We have limited time. How much time? Walsh asked. 14 hours, maybe less, Victoria said. Walsh's face went pale, but he nodded. We will begin evacuation now. What about the colony? Abandon it, Victoria said. The people are what matters. The colony can be rebuilt. Governor Walsh understood. He stood up. Everyone will be ready for transport within the hour. The transmission ended. Victoria watched as the evacuation began. Ships moved across the colony, picking up civilians. Families grabbed what they could carry. Children cried. Old people moved slowly toward the transports. The USS Valiant stood ready above them, watching the sky for the arrival of the Vorthan fleet. Victoria had broken her orders. She had committed her ship to an impossible mission. She had made the choice that war had come to the galaxy, and humanity would face it whether the Council believed it or not. Deep in the space beyond the colony, the Vorthan fleet moved forward. They knew humans were here now. They knew the Valiant was coming. General Krull smiled. Humanity was about to learn why the Vorthan Empire had never lost a war. They were about to come face to face with exactly what kind of species they truly were. The evacuation was halfway complete when the sensors detected the Vorthan fleet. Owen Mitchell's voice came through the communication system, hard and focused. Commander, we have multiple contacts at the outer edge of sensor range. The Vorthan fleet is arriving early. They are moving faster than we calculated. Victoria was in the evacuation command center, monitoring the movement of civilian transports. Around her, colony workers were helping the last groups of residents board the rescue ships. Governor Walsh stood beside her, watching the final families being loaded into transport pods. How much longer until we clear the colony? Walsh asked. 20 minutes for the last transport, Victoria said. We do not have 20 minutes. She turned to her communication officer and issued a command. Send an urgent message to all evacuation ships. Launch immediately. We will protect you as you leave. The transport ships began lifting off the colony surface. They were slow, heavy with evacuees, and could not accelerate quickly. They moved upward like wounded birds trying to escape a predator. Victoria moved to the tactical station and studied the approaching Vorthan fleet. There were 12 major warships and numerous smaller combat vessels. The numbers were overwhelming. One human warship against that force was not a military calculation. It was a suicide mission. "Governor Walsh, you are leaving with the last transport," Victoria said. "My people are aboard those ships," Walsh said. "I should stay with them." "Your people need you alive to lead them after this," Victoria said. "You will go." "That is an order." Walsh wanted to argue, but he saw the finality in Victoria's expression. He boarded the final transport without another word. Victoria moved to the command bridge of the USS Valiant. Every station was staffed and ready. The ship had received all the upgrades Marcus could manage in the limited time available. The weapon systems were fully charged. The shields were operational. The ship was as ready for combat as anything humanity had created. "All evacuation transports are clear of the colony," Owen reported. "They are moving away from the combat zone at maximum speed." "Good," Victoria said. "Now we buy them time. Take us to intercept position between the colony and the Vorthan fleet. I want this ship between them and those transports." The USS Valiant moved into position. She was dwarfed by the Vorthan warships, smaller and less heavily armed. But she was piloted by humans who understood something the Vorthan did not understand. Humans could think in ways that others could not. The first Vorthan attack came without warning. Energy weapons lit up the darkness. The USS Valiant's shields flared under the impact. Alarms screamed through every section of the ship. The force of the assault was tremendous, enough to knock people off their feet. "Shields holding," Owen said. His hands moved across his tactical console with precision. "But they will not hold against sustained attack from 12 warships." "Then we do not sustain," Victoria said. "Move us into the debris field of the destroyed mining equipment. Use the asteroids and wreckage as cover." The Valiant accelerated toward the field of broken machinery and rock. The Vorthan followed, but their larger ships could not maneuver as easily. The human crew watched their displays as Victoria pulled the ship through narrow spaces between debris. The Vorthan weapons continued to fire, but now the shots were being deflected by asteroids or passing through empty space. Dr. Grant's voice came through the combat channel. She was in the Science Center, analyzing the Vorthan weapon patterns. "Commander, I see the weakness. Their targeting systems are locked into preset patterns. When something breaks the pattern, they pause to recalculate." "How long does that pause last?" Victoria asked. 4 to 6 seconds, Dr. Grant said. "But you have to do something they do not expect." Victoria smiled. "That is the one thing we do well." She commanded the helm officer to make a series of maneuvers that made no tactical sense. The Valiant accelerated directly toward one of the Vorthan destroyers, then suddenly decelerated and moved 90 degrees away from the planned trajectory. The Vorthan ships lost target lock. Their weapons flared in the wrong directions. In those 6 seconds, the Valiant fired every weapon the ship possessed at the nearest Vorthan destroyer. The human weapons were not as powerful as Vorthan weapons, but they were concentrated, accurate, and delivered with perfect timing. The Vorthan shields dropped, and human fire found its mark. The Vorthan destroyer exploded in a bloom of fire and expanding debris. The other Vorthan ships hesitated. This should not have been possible. One human warship should not be able to destroy a trained Vorthan military vessel. But the reality was undeniable. Victoria pressed the advantage. "All available speed. Drive us deeper into the asteroid field. Keep their larger ships separated. Dr. Grant, give me targeting data on the next closest destroyer." The battle became a dance of human creativity against Vorthan precision. Each Vorthan destroyer was formidable alone, but the humans forced them to fight separately, prevented them from concentrating their firepower. The Valiant used terrain, timing, and unpredictable movements to stay alive. A Vorthan cruiser managed to close in fast enough to get a clean shot at the human warship. The impact was massive. The bridge shook. Emergency systems activated. The shields dropped to critical levels. Marcus Webb's voice crackled through the communication system. "Captain, the forward shield generators are failing. I can reroute power, but it will take time." "How much time?" Victoria asked. 30 seconds. Victoria had 10 seconds before the next Vorthan salvo could be fired. She made the decision in an instant. She ordered the Valiant to accelerate toward the Vorthan cruiser instead of away from it. The human ship raced forward at maximum velocity. The Vorthan commander did not understand the tactic. Why would a damaged ship charge directly into combat? In that moment of confusion and hesitation, the human ship passed directly under the Vorthan cruiser. Victoria ordered the lateral weapons to fire upward. At point-blank range, the damage was catastrophic. The Vorthan cruiser's shields, designed to protect against distant threats, could not handle weapons fire from directly beneath. The ship took critical damage and pulled away. The Vorthan fleet regrouped. They had lost 2 warships. They had gained no ground. General Krell, commanding from his flagship, made a decision. The humans had proven more dangerous than expected. A full assault would cost more ships than he wanted to lose. The Vorthan fleet changed course and moved away from Kepler Station. The battle ended as suddenly as it had begun. The USS Valiant was heavily damaged. Hull breaches were sealed. Shields were offline. Half the weapon systems were not functional. But the ship was still flying, and the evacuation transports were safe. Commander Victoria Hayes sat in her command chair and allowed herself one moment to breathe. Her crew had done something that was supposed to be impossible. They had stood against the Vorthan Empire and forced them to retreat. But Victoria understood what had happened. The Vorthan had not been defeated. They had chosen to withdraw. That meant they would return, and next time, they would be prepared for human tactics. The real war was just beginning. Owen looked over at her from his tactical station. He was smiling, the expression of a soldier who had faced death and survived. "We did it, Commander," he said. "We did the first part," Victoria replied. "Now we figure out how to do it on a larger scale. Send an urgent transmission to Admiral Rodriguez. Tell her the Vorthan can be beaten. Tell her humanity is ready for war." The news of the Valiant's victory traveled through the Galactic Alliance faster than any warship could move. A single human vessel had defeated Vorthan military forces. The impact of that information was enormous. Species that had accepted their inevitable defeat suddenly had hope. The Galactic Council chambers, filled with representatives from dozens of worlds. Some showed confidence, but others still showed fear. The Vorthan Empire was ancient and powerful. One victory did not change the reality that the Alliance was facing destruction. Admiral Elena Rodriguez stood before the Council and delivered the data from Victoria's battle reports. Every detail was included. How the Valiant had fought with unpredictable tactics. How human flexibility and creativity had overcome superior Vorthan weaponry. How 30,000 civilians had been evacuated because of one commander's decision to break orders. "The data shows clearly," Admiral Rodriguez said. "Humanity is not a liability in this conflict. Humanity is our greatest asset. We are a species that survives impossible situations. We adapt faster than our enemies. We think differently. This is what we bring to the Galactic Alliance." General Krell's response came through official diplomatic channels. His message was direct and angry. The Vorthan Empire has received damage from human forces. This is unacceptable. General Krell himself will command the next assault. The human vessels will be destroyed. All human colonies will fall. The species will learn the price of challenging the Vorthan Empire. The message was a declaration of total war. Victoria received the message while the Valiant was being repaired in a secure space dock. The ship had taken severe damage, but the repair crews were working around the clock. Every section of the vessel was being reinforced. Every weapon system was being upgraded with the latest human technology. Victoria stood in the dock's command center with Owen, Dr. Grant, and Marcus Webb. They watched the engineering teams work on the ship. "Krell himself is coming," Owen said. "That is what it means when the Vorthan commander says he will lead the assault personally." "That is actually good news," Victoria said. "It means the Vorthan are angry. Anger makes mistakes. We just have to be ready to exploit them." "The Valiant will not be ready in time for a major engagement," Marcus said. "The repairs will take another week minimum." "Then we do not fight with just the Valiant," Victoria said. "We call in every human military vessel in the sector. We gather all the ships we can. We create a force strong enough to make the Vorthan think twice about committing their entire military strength to this battle." Dr. Grant shook her head. "Even if we gather 10 warships, we will be facing a Vorthan fleet of over 200 vessels. The numbers are impossible." "The numbers are not what matters," Victoria said. "Our understanding matters. Our willingness to fight matters. Our ability to make choices that others cannot predict matters. I am going to send a proposal to Earth Command and to the Galactic Council. We stop running. We stop defending. We take the war to the Vorthan." She sat at the communication console and began recording a detailed message. She explained the Vorthan weakness. She explained the human advantage. She explained what would need to happen for the Alliance to win this war. It was a dangerous proposal. It required humanity to commit everything. It required fighting a battle that might decide the future of the entire Galactic Alliance. The response from Earth Command came back within hours. Admiral Rodriguez's face appeared on the screen. She was in her command center, surrounded by military staff. The Admiral looked older than Victoria remembered, carrying the weight of difficult decisions. "Victoria, I have studied your proposal. The Council has studied it. The military leaders of every allied species have studied it. Your plan is crazy. It will probably fail. We are going to do it anyway," the Admiral said. Victoria felt a surge of pride. This was what it meant to be human. This was why her species could face impossible odds and still fight. "We are mobilizing every military asset we have," Admiral Rodriguez continued. "We are gathering human warships from across known space. We are coordinating with the Tralaxian fleet and the Allied defense forces from the Kepler sector. We will not have the numbers the Vorthan have, but we will have something better. We will have people willing to die for something they believe in. We will have soldiers who understand that this is not about winning through force. This is about winning through will." The screen changed. A tactical display showed the gathering locations of human warships. They were coming from everywhere. The USS Prometheus from the outer territories. The USS Endurance from the research stations. The USS Defender from the core worlds. More and more names appeared as ships moved toward the coordination point. "We will meet the Vorthan at the disputed asteroid field near the core sector," Admiral Rodriguez said. "That location was chosen by our tactical team. It has environmental features we can use to our advantage. We will have the fighting ground we need. The battle will determine the future of this entire region of space." Victoria watched the strategic display. The location showed a dense asteroid field with spatial anomalies and gravitational distortions. It was exactly the kind of terrain where human flexibility would matter. The Vorthan preferred open space where they could bring their superior firepower to bear. "What is the timeline?" Victoria asked. "You have 72 hours to finish the Valiant's repairs and reach the coordination point," Admiral Rodriguez said. "After that, we trigger the final confrontation. General Krell will bring his entire fleet. This will be the largest battle fought in this sector in over 1,000 years. Victoria, I need to ask you something directly. Do you think we can win this? Victoria considered the question carefully. She knew the odds. She understood the risks. But she also understood something about humanity that few other species grasped. Yes, Victoria said. I think we can win. Not because our ships are stronger. Not because we have more warriors. But because we are willing to make the choice to fight when others would surrender. Because we come from a harsh world that teaches us to survive anything. Because we think in ways the Vorthen cannot predict. If they were fighting another species with the same logic and the same weapons, they would win every time. But they are fighting humans. And humans are dangerous when they have nothing left to lose. Admiral Rodriguez nodded. That is what I needed to hear. Finish those repairs. Get to the coordination point. Let's end this war. The communication ended. Victoria looked at her senior staff. Owen was already calculating the journey time to the meeting point. Dr. Grant was analyzing the asteroid field's properties. Marcus was coordinating with the dock's engineering teams to speed up the repairs. These were her people. These were the humans who would stand with her in the final battle against the Vorthen Empire. Victoria stood and moved to the window that overlooked the Valiant. The ship was torn and damaged, but she was still beautiful in her way. She was human-built, human-crewed, and human-determined. She represented everything that made humanity unique in the galaxy. We have 72 hours, Victoria said. Let's make sure we are ready to take the war to the Vorthen. The work continued through the night. The Valiant would be ready. The human fleet would be ready. The time for defense was over. The time for victory had come. The asteroid field was silent before the battle began. Multiple human warships moved into position among the floating rocks. The USS Valiant took the forward position, with Admiral Elena Rodriguez commanding from the flagship USS Endeavor. Other human vessels arranged themselves throughout the field, using terrain to hide their true numbers. The Allied defense forces from the Tralaxian and Kepler species took positions to the flanks. They were not as experienced in combat as the humans, but they were willing to stand and fight. Victoria stood on the bridge of the Valiant and studied the displays. The Vorthen fleet was massive, approaching from the outer edge of the asteroid field. Over 200 warships, support vessels, and combat cruisers. The armada was too large to miss, too powerful to ignore. Owen stood at his tactical station, ready for whatever came. Dr. Grant monitored every sensor reading, tracking the movement of the Vorthen ships. Marcus Webb was in the engine room, holding communications with the other ship engineers. The crew of the Valiant was ready. Contact, Owen said. The Vorthen are entering the asteroid field. General Krell's flagship is at the center of the formation. All Vorthen ships are maintaining perfect coordination. That is their advantage, Victoria said. But we are going to show them why perfect coordination is not always better than flexible thinking. The Vorthen attack began with a massive barrage of weapons fire. The power was overwhelming. Asteroids shattered from the impact. The Allied ships took evasive action, breaking formation and scattering through the asteroid field. All ships, execute Plan Alpha, Admiral Rodriguez commanded across the fleet-wide channel. Use the terrain. Do not engage in direct combat. Draw them deeper into the field. The human ships moved with calculated precision. They were not running. They were leading. The Vorthen gave chase, following the retreating human forces deeper into the asteroid field, where their larger ships could not maneuver effectively. Victoria watched the tactical display as the Vorthen formation began to break apart. Some ships followed individual human vessels, separating from the main fleet. Others tried to maintain coordination, but found themselves unable to navigate the dense asteroid concentrations. "Now," Admiral Rodriguez said, the human ships stopped running. They turned and attacked with coordinated fury. 3 Vorthan destroyers found themselves isolated and surrounded. The human vessels closed in, using asteroids as cover, attacking from unexpected angles. The Vorthan ships were powerful individually, but they could not match the combined firepower of coordinated human forces. 1 Vorthan destroyer exploded. Then another. General Krell was forced to adapt his strategy. He moved his main battle fleet into a more compact formation. He stopped trying to spread out and instead concentrated his most powerful ships in the center of the field. The Vorthan were learning, but learning took time, and time was what the humans did not have. "They are consolidating," Owen reported. "Their next move will be massive firepower concentrated in a single direction. They will punch through our formation and try to eliminate our command ships. Then we do not give them a stable target," Victoria said. "All ships switch to Formation Delta. Attack the edges of their consolidated force. Hit them hard and move immediately." The human fleet moved like a single organism. Ships appeared where the Vorthan did not expect them. Weapons fire came from positions that should have been empty. The Vorthan fleet took damage as their enemies thought in 3 dimensions, while the Vorthan thought only in lines and formations. Dr. Grant's analysis was correct. The Vorthan were brilliant at executing planned strategies, but when faced with constant, unpredictable attacks, they began to show hesitation. But the Vorthan still had overwhelming numbers. Slowly, the human formation was being pushed backward. For every Vorthan ship destroyed, the humans took damage that they could not replace quickly enough. Admiral Rodriguez made a decision. "All ships concentrate fire on Krell's flagship. We end this now." The human fleet turned its weapons toward the center of the Vorthan formation. The Vorthan flagship was massive, protected by multiple defensive layers. But it was also the command center. If Krell was forced to retreat, the entire Vorthan assault would fall apart. The USS Valiant led the charge toward the Vorthan flagship. Victoria pushed the ship forward at maximum velocity. Shields flared under the impact of Vorthan weapons. The Valiant fired every weapon in her arsenal. Other human ships joined the assault, creating a convergence of firepower that even the mighty Vorthan flagship could not withstand. General Krell watched from his command center as his ship took damage. His shields failed. His armor was penetrated. His fleet was being defeated by enemies he had dismissed as insignificant. The humans were different. They were unpredictable. They were dangerous. General Krell made the decision to retreat. The Vorthan were warriors, but they were not foolish. Victory was no longer possible. Survival was what mattered now. The Vorthan fleet changed course and withdrew from the asteroid field. They left behind destroyed ships, damage that would take months to repair, and the knowledge that the Vorthan Empire could be defeated. The human fleet did not pursue. They remained in the asteroid field, wounded but victorious. Victoria felt the tension leave her shoulders. The battle was over. The Vorthan had been stopped. Communication channels filled with messages of celebration from allied ships. The Tralaxian commanders sent congratulations. The Kepler forces celebrated. Humanity had stood in the face of destruction and won. Admiral Rodriguez's voice came through the communication system. She sounded tired but satisfied. "All ships, excellent work. We have held the line. The Vorthan Empire will need time to recover from this defeat. That time gives us the chance to build something new. A galactic alliance that is truly united. Victoria, I need you on the flagship for a formal strategic meeting. The council representatives want to speak with you." Victoria stood and looked at her bridge crew. Owen, Grace, Dr. Grant, and all the other people who had made this victory possible. She was proud to serve with them. 3 hours later, Victoria stood in the council chambers of the Galactic Alliance. Representatives from dozens of species surrounded her. They were not looking at her with doubt or skepticism anymore. They were looking at her with respect. The eldest council member, a Tralaxian named Speaker Velith, addressed the assembly. His words were translated into 100 languages instantly. The human species has proven itself beyond all question. You have stood against the Vorthan Empire and forced them to retreat. You have saved worlds and species from annihilation. The Galactic Council officially recognizes humanity not as newcomers to be protected, but as equals, as protectors, and as essential members of our united alliance. The chamber filled with affirmation from representatives of every species. Victoria looked out at the assembled worlds and species. Earth had sent her out into the stars to protect and serve. She had done exactly that. But more than that, she had shown the galaxy what humanity could be. Not conquerors, not slaves, but allies, partners, warriors willing to stand when others fell. That night, Victoria received a personal message from Admiral Rodriguez. The Admiral's face appeared on her private screen. Victoria, I wanted to speak with you directly. The Council has made recommendations to Earth. Humanity is being offered a position of leadership in the galactic defense. You are being promoted to Admiral and given command of the human defensive fleet. This responsibility is yours if you want it. I know you did not seek this. I know you just wanted to save lives and stop a war. But sometimes the best people are the ones who never wanted power. So I am asking you, not commanding you. Will you take this position? Victoria thought of the worlds that had fallen before her ship arrived. She thought of the people who had been saved at Kepler Station. She thought of the soldiers who had fought and died to stop the Vorthan advance. I will take the position, Victoria said. But I want my crew with me. I want people who understand that we are different. I want warriors who think in ways that make enemies hesitate. I want to build something that the galaxy has never seen before. You will have whatever you need, Admiral Rodriguez said. Go rest. The real work begins tomorrow. Victoria looked out at the stars through her cabin window. Somewhere out there, General Krell was regrouping. The war with the Vorthan was not finished. But for the first time in recorded history, the Vorthan Empire had been defeated. A younger species had stood against an ancient power and won. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had arrived as defenders. Soon the entire universe would know what it meant to have humans stand beside you in the darkness. The stars waited for what would come next.